Well, good morning, St. David's. Happy to see you all for our continuation of our outreach forums. The past few weeks we've highlighted all our different outreach partners, not all, but a good chunk. So we did our international partners the first week, Project Nsonga last week. Now Episcopal Community Services is here, and then next week will be Alianzas de Phoenixville, and then the last week will be Thistle Hills out in Coatesville. So we have 2 more forums. I also want to highlight that we have our week of service, which begins next week. I sent an email last night, so if you got that, we got a bunch of sign-ups because of that, and then I saw people in the narthex signing up on the laptop. Chris is setting up a table right now for Jay Baldwin will come. He'll come right in after the forum, and he'll be signing folks up on the laptop over there too, so please do sign up. It's a great opportunity. There's something every day, different times of the day as well. So please take advantage of it. It's a great thing to check out some of our outreach partners and be a part of it. All right, thank you. And without further ado, I would like to welcome Rice-Burgess, the CEO of Episcopal Community Services. Relatively new CEO, but a great person for the job. And has already done a good job. So, and then also Kyle Evans, the chaplain of ECS, Episcopal Community Services. And Kyle has been at ECS for about a year and a half, right, or so, or a year. And they are going to tell you all a little bit about Episcopal Community Services. St. David's has had varying involvement with Episcopal Community Services throughout the years. I am on the advocacy committee of ECS right now, and these 2 wonderful ladies will take the ball from here. Thank you all for being here.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us. It's really exciting to be a part of the worship service with you all today. Beautiful service, very inspiring. We want to recognize that we work in tandem, that worship is just an element of what we do to represent Christ's mission and message to us all on earth. And at Episcopal Community Services, we particularly are taking on the issue of challenging and reducing intergenerational poverty. And why that's important is we have to recognize that for the most part, most of us are born into a set of circumstances where we live, this type of family and supports we have, the education we have access to, and across the world, it's the type of homes you have, the environment you're living in, you're born into that. And most people sustain that throughout their lifetime. Some people have a skyrocketing trajectory beyond their living circumstances that they're born into. It might be that you started a business and you changed your ability to do anything that you want. You're employing people, you are now living where you want, you have access to the things you want. It could be that you won the lottery. For other people, it could be the opposite direction. It could be a catastrophic event that catapults them downward into a different situation. But for the majority of people, they're living in the same set of circumstances that they were born into. So, for example, I send my daughter to college. It costs a fortune, $80,000 a year. In the end, nothing has changed about our family or our circumstances. She's going to maintain the lifestyle that she was provided as a result of being in my family. On the opposite end of that, in the community that we're serving, largely in West Philadelphia and other parts of Philadelphia, there are families who are born into circumstances where their ability to get employed, their ability to maintain their house in such a condition that isn't a set of circumstances that creates a catastrophe, the heater, the roof, the weather like this, causing damage, having to put plastic on windows. Their circumstance from generation to generation is not changing. Therefore, what they need is a level of support to change that economic mobility factor, the thing that is keeping them stuck from grandmother to mother to child, generation after generation. And so at ECS, these are the sorts of things that we are doing in an array of ways, and we're going to very shortly get to our video presentation so that you can see more of that in detail. But what we are doing is we are addressing this in a variety of ways. One, we are providing resources. This means sometimes emergency food, sometimes it's emergency income, sometimes it's school supplies, and a variety of other things. We also are working to give people access to services through partners, healthcare, mental health, financial literacy, a whole range of things. And then on top of that, we are working to change the brain functions of people who are stuck in intergenerational poverty so that they have hope and a path that they can create and rebuild themselves. And those things are done through coaching. And we do this by working with a person, meeting them where they are, understanding that they have a set of circumstances that no matter what we do to keep them on a linear path moving forward is going to get interrupted by a variety of things that happen in their lives that create chaos. I mean, in a very simple way, just imagine that you're trying to get out to this important thing that you're doing, and all of a sudden, and I'm minimizing this, you stubbed your toe and you are now screaming in agony and other things that you might be doing. And that interrupts your just getting out the door. Well, imagine the much more catastrophic thing that happens. Your basement is now flooded. It has affected your electricity, and you have to get your children out to school, and they don't have the boots that they need for the snowstorm that's out there because Philadelphia public schools didn't close that day like they should have, and you're in a state of crisis. Do you think that you're going to make it to work on time that day? Not at all. And if you don't make it to work on time that day, and you've had a number of those situations earlier on in your life, your boss doesn't think that you're a good employee, and then your job may be at risk. And on that day, it might be just too much for you. So these are the kinds of things we're trying to work on, starting not just with the adults, but with the children. For example, in our out-of-school time programs, that's the new word for after-school program, where we do a curriculum that's based on social emotional learning. Because we know that one of the most important things that a person can learn is how to handle crises. Crises for kids who have little things that happen in their lives, argument with a friend, realizing that they didn't understand the homework assignment, or the big crises. It may be that mom has gotten ill, now I'm suddenly with grandma and she doesn't know anything about what it is that I usually do during the day. Many things. So all of that to say that it's with supportive partners like you, people who really understand a couple of things. And let me say this. First, that your heart acknowledges that we are each equally created as children of God. All of us, regardless of where in that level of circumstances we are born. Two, that our brain acknowledges that there are facts surrounding those circumstances that impact people on a daily basis. And that some of those are tied to policies and laws, such as if you have been on a welfare benefit, you are getting supplemental food income, you were getting supplemental rental income, you were getting health insurance, and you were getting supplemental child care. Now you got that job, which often you have some disruptive factor that means that maybe you couldn't show up on time that day, but you have that job, but the minimum wage in Pennsylvania is still what, $7.49? That's not a job you can survive on. Even up to the point of about $15 an hour, you're still not getting a living wage. But if you have that job now, your supplemental food benefits are taken away. Your supplemental child care, that is the reason you can get to that job, is taken away. Your rental supplement is reduced, and you may not now have free health care. So you're in crisis. And some people will decide that job wasn't even worth it, and then They're back right where they started again. So these are the sort of facts. So I started by saying your heart has to acknowledge that we are all equal. Your brain has to understand that there are some circumstances that keep people stuck. And then the last is that your body, brain, mind, heart all together have to take action. So we will go from there. And Kyle, if you would start with this video. We'll talk more after.
So good morning. My name is Kyle Evans, and as Thomas mentioned, I'm the chaplain at Episcopal Community Services. I'm also, I think I need that. I'm also in discernment and a candidate for the vocational diaconate, as is Jonesy, who's here with us, and a member of your parish. So a very exciting time all the way around. I have 4 different responsibilities at ECS. My first is providing pastoral care to our participants, those who benefit from the programs that we offer, as well as our staff. I also assist with inclusion and advocacy activities and volunteer coordination. The volunteer coordination is particularly focused on our faith communities. And I also make visits to worshiping communities, just like St. David's this morning, to share the story of ECS. So it's a pleasure to be with you this morning. We want to really thank you for your generosity, and I would say even deepened generosity over the course of the last year. It's been long-standing and consistent, but a shout out to Thomas because he rallied some volunteers to help us with our voting initiative, and you've helped with in-kind goods, particularly around our back to school bash and in other circumstances. Also significant cash commitments both as individuals and as parishes, and as a matter of fact we have a grant application that was just submitted for our Meals Mission and Market program. So we are very grateful for the support that you offer us. As Ann had said, our mission is to help combat intergenerational poverty. And it's a complex issue, as Ann referenced, and so I'm going to spotlight some different initiatives that we engage. And we don't do it alone. We do it with partnerships because we realize that it takes many people to make these changes in our community. So stability programs, prevention programs, transformational programs. I'm going to show you a short video on our mindset program, which is a real spotlight to the programs that we offer. This is a multi-year commitment to people with a coaching model to bring them through what we call the bridge to prosperity, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, to help stabilize their lives across that bridge to prosperity in order to experience a flourishing life. Advocacy and community connection. So this is the bridge to prosperity to which I alluded. We have 5 pillars, if you will, and we've actually updated this image into a little more streamlined format that's in our brand new impact report. Is there anyone here who's on our mailing list and has received the new impact report? Okay, so Jonesy has and Thomas has. We have a copy up there for you to flip through, but I opened it to the slightly different view of this. So the 5 pillars are family stability, and then health and wellness, which is obviously key to our success, financial well-being, education and training, and career and employment. And then across, you'll see down here that people are at different stages, I'm going to say emotionally and socially. They're either in crisis, at risk, safe, stable, or thriving. So our coaches all are specialists in these different fields that I'm talking about on the upper section. And they're working with people over the course of time, both in a team setting and individually, to help them move through the challenges that they're experiencing. Some people might not be experiencing all 5 challenges, but some might. And some might be struggling with those things, but at least feeling somewhat safe, or they might be in crisis. And this is where this kind of programming is really critical. Ann alluded to the out-of-school time program. We have 7 different locations. 6 are in the Philadelphia area, and 1 is in Darby. And as Ann mentioned, really significant programming that's happening there and community building among the young people and among the adults who are well trained there to help build self-confidence, leadership. The stories that we hear back as some of these young people have moved through that program into adulthood, moving into social service, employment and health employment, because they've been so deeply impacted by what has happened through ECS's Out of School Time program. We have a wonderful health and wellness program. We have our own staff, but we also have partnerships with Drexel and PCOM. In the health and wellness area, the Meals, Mission, and Market program that I mentioned is also a key piece, and one of the elements of Meals, Mission, and Market is nutrition. So for example, on Thursdays, we have a breakfast bunch. It's one of my favorite days of the week. I'm usually situated at St. Barnabas Community Resource Center, where we do most of these programs. And seniors from the community, these are individuals who often will also access our open choice market, will receive a healthy breakfast, some education around nutrition. They'll actually then prepare a recipe with direction, and then they walk around the hallway and they offer samples of the recipe that they've created with great pride. And dignity is a really key element to what we do. And then we have special programs like the Back to School Bash, our Fall Fest, a Christmas kind of gathering or holiday gathering, and those are opportunities for us to bring additional vendors in with whom we partner on mental health, physical health. Sometimes it's blood pressure focused, sometimes it's diabetes focused, sometimes it's breast cancer focused. This is just really a continuation of some of what I alluded to. So I want to share that mindset video with you. I'm wondering if I can do that with this. I had sound earlier. Now I don't seem to have.
You might have to remote control there. You might have to change the volume.
While they're working on that, let's just let you know that the Mindset program is for motivated individuals who are looking to for economic mobility on their bridge to prosperity, and they are working intensively with coaches for as long as it takes, with an idea that they're leveling up, that on each of the pillars of the bridge to prosperity, whether it be housing, financial stability, education, health and wellness, that they are addressing each of those to the point that they are determined to have, and saving money along the way, that's a very important factor, to the point that they now have the ability to do this on their own for the rest of their lives and have impacted their families along the way.
The mission of Episcopal Community Services is to challenge.
Uh-oh. Did the wrong thing, sorry. I didn't want him to feel like he had nothing to do this morning, so.
That's what it's here.
No, we don't want cable.
Yes, a question. So they come from a variety of resources. The Mindset program is specifically something that people apply for, because we really need to identify people that are motivated to advance themselves through this intensive program that could last as long as 2 years, but up to 7 years. Our first graduates graduated within a 4-year period, so equivalent to my daughter going to college. Sorry.
Here we go.
The mission of Episcopal Community Services is to challenge and reduce intergenerational poverty. ECS has served communities for more than 150 years, and today, one of its key programs is called Mindset. Mindset is unique because it features a long-term and holistic approach to help people permanently leave poverty. Mindset offers one-on-one coaching in the areas of health and wellness, employment, financial management, and education.
Mindset is an up to 7-year holistic coaching program. We follow people throughout the course of their lives and build really strong relationships with them so they come to trust us, have comfort with us, and take advantage of all of the other programmatic services that we offer.
We ask people to take a look at 5 key areas of their life. And these are 5 key areas that are indicators of economic self-sufficiency. Those areas are family stability, which includes their housing situation and also their ability to care for their dependents, health and well-being, finances, so we take a look at savings and debt and things like credit scores, education, and education is really tied into our final life area, which is career and employment. And it's really taking a look at education through the lens of what do I need in terms of credentials in order to accomplish the career plan that I have for myself.
I feel like with the Mindset program, they help me to stick to my goals, stick to the plans, get it done, stay focused, and accomplish what I set out to accomplish.
It's not just talking about employment, finances, education. It's really, they really understand. I think this program really understands that everything plays an intricate part with each other. Like nothing works in a silo by itself.
We need our coaches to be able to hear the wants of our participants because the program is very participant driven. The goals are developed by the participants. So you really need to hear what it is that participants want for their own lives and use that information to help them in developing their goals and those plans for achieving their goals.
Our supports help people understand they're not doing this alone. And because we're there every week, every month, time in and time out for 7 years, you start to build your own social networks within that context. So when you leave, you can continue those relationships in this new environment that you've created for yourself.
I definitely feel like Mindset will definitely have a long-term impact on my life because the energy that I exude when we're in like our meetings and stuff with my community and what
I could say this is the one program where it does touch on everything. So mindset feeds the body and the soul and the it helps the whole person.
So the future plans for Mindset include working and partnering with organizations who we are indirectly serving a common participant. And so it's about identifying those partners and building more wraparound support for participants that we have in common to really advance their trajectories, both professionally and personally.
Mindset is a life-changing program made possible through the support of donors and partners. Join ECS in supporting this work and learning more at www.ecsphilly.org.
Were there any other questions related to that program? Yes.
I came in late, so maybe you talked about this already, but there's 2 questions. Where does all this happen, and how much time obligation would a volunteer be committed to?
Good question. I will let Kyle take the volunteer question, and I will talk about where it's located. So we have services in a variety of locations. We have a center, community center at 60th and Girard in West Philadelphia, where Mindset Coaches' offices are. But because this is a program that was developed and then got off the ground during COVID, we pivoted immediately to remote services for this sort of thing. So coaches can meet with the people that they're coaching wherever they are. They don't have to come into the center. We also have after-school programs in a variety of locations. Our food pantry Our mental health and wellness services are at St. Barnabas. And so we have a variety of locations where we're doing services. And to answer the question about how can you volunteer?
So I'm going to jump ahead. So, and I'll come back to advocacy in a minute.
Help us now as we
So-
embrace the call you extend to us.
So this is the front of St. Barnabas Community Resource Center, where most of our volunteer opportunities occur. There is an opportunity to be involved with our out-of-school time program at those different locations. That will require some training and child abuse clearances and a variety of things. But if that's something that you're interested in, I can certainly get more information to you. And then we have, especially with our Meals, Mission, and Market program, a number of opportunities to volunteer. And I would say it's as much time as you're available to offer. The location for St. Barnabas Community Resource Center is at 60th and Girard in West Philadelphia. We have an extended lease on a parking lot across the street, and there's street parking there as well, so easily accessible. We're currently doing some construction in our entryway, actually to provide more space for our participants to sit when they're waiting to move in, whether it's to the open choice market or to a service. And then we have, as I mentioned, like the back to school bash, where we have young people and their families coming in to pick up school supplies. The theme of everything we do is dignity. So instead of loading up backpacks and handing the backpacks to the children, we have boxes of different supplies, and the families go through and they select what they need, because there might be distinctions in school supply lists, right? They get to pick their own backpack. And so we need volunteers to help with that. When we have Fall Fest in the fall, there are food stations and a variety of activities. Again, another great opportunity for somebody to help. These are once a year kind of opportunities. When I get back to advocacy, we have a voting campaign, nonpartisan, but an opportunity for people to learn about how they can register. We actually help them register. Maybe they are registered, but they've just moved. We can help them with that. Perhaps they don't know where to go to register. We help them with that as well. These are all really important ways that people can be involved.
Also just want to describe what you see when you show up. So if you're coming to St. Barnabas, and we showed you the front of the building, understand that it's embedded in a community that is impacted by poverty. So what you see is a whole range of things. You see churches, you see businesses, you see homes. Some of those places look really run down. And some of the people that you see are people who are struggling. It might be because they are struggling with the cold weather and they don't have the clothing that we all have access to. It may be that they have mobility issues. It may be clearly that they are not nourished the way that you are. So you see that when you show up and you think, wow, this doesn't look like what I'm used to. What then you experience is you come into St. Barnabas and you and every person who walks through that door is welcomed. And the people are wonderful. When you start to talk to people, they're happy to be there. They're experiencing a moment of joy, of satisfaction while they're in our program that resonates. And you will feel that when you're working and talking to someone. We had a community dinner. In fact, we got funded for monthly community dinners where we welcome members of the community into the center, provide a fantastic meal and a fun activity, and people just talk, and you just feel the warmth and appreciation of people. Their mothers coming in with a stroller. There's a young man, I sat across from a young man who was telling me about how when he was a little kid, he had dreamed about being a professional wrestler, and he was going to do that until one day he slammed his finger in the car door, and he just carried on, and his grandmother told him, and you wanted to be a professional wrestler. And he said, maybe not. But he did talk about how he had developed a career trajectory, but still, he needed extra food support, and therefore he comes into the pantry. So this is what you see and experience when you volunteer. And of course, children, they're wonderful.
Thank you, Ann, that's really important. We also have a program called Cook-Off. And Cook-Off, we have two cooks as part of the staff at St. Barnabas. Cook-Off involves prepared food that is made by our chefs. And volunteer groups, it could be an individual who's interested in being part of this that wants to fold in with another group that's already scheduled. We'll place this prepared food into divided containers. They're frozen and they're taken out to senior centers. Last year, we generated 4,500 meals. And the need among our seniors in the Philadelphia area for that kind of assistance is really key. So that's just another example of ways to get involved. And we have an online form that you can complete expressing things that you might be interested in, and we can kind of go from there. I want to come back for a moment because I'm also sensitive to the time, to advocacy. Let me just talk about advocacy right now. I don't know what's going on.
I'll talk about advocacy.
Yeah.
You can work on that for a second. So the point of advocacy, sometimes people hear that and think, oh my God, am I going to be asked to march? Am I going to be asked to protest? Advocacy can be that when there's a call to action and there's a reason to do such things. But for the most part, it's really developing the ways for our legislators to hear that things have to change. Because if certain laws don't change, like what I was describing about the benefits being eliminated when someone gets to a certain level of income, but it's not enough, that's what we call the benefits cliff. And so we at ECS are going to be working on advocating for change on that benefits cliff. We learned through the pandemic that if you gave a family who had children living in poverty just $300 extra a month, children were lifted out of poverty. Well, that funding has ended, and so there's been nothing to replace it, no action to change laws that would support lifting children out of poverty. And so these are things now we need to advocate around.
So I was a little distracted, but these are the three priorities for our Inclusion and Advocacy Department. Anne went into some wonderful detail about the benefits cliff. This is a complicated issue, not a lot of people know about it, but it's a really important thing. And we work with a partner who actually has a formula. So as they're working with individuals who are looking at a promotion and excited about that heightened income, but then realize they're going to lose some benefits, there's a plan that's actually developed. And this is also a legislative issue, as are issues around racial equity and living wage. So to Anne's point, you don't need to be out demonstrating, but you're encouraged to contact your legislators about some of these issues. And we're in the middle of relaunching something called Just Now, which is similar to the Episcopal Public Policy Network. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. But they have calls to action. This is all electronic, and it includes prepared letters. So if you are interested in signing up for something like that, you have the opportunity to at least receive our weekly updates on policy matters. And if there's a call to action to sign up for that, the letter is prepared. You're just releasing it. It automatically goes to your representative with your name, and then typically that representative will be back in touch in a automated kind of way to confirm that they've received that. And that kind of connection makes a difference on some of these things. The other thing I want to mention briefly is that in addition to these priorities, a fourth that has really risen to the surface, mostly by our participants through an assessment, is gun violence. I'm sure that's of no surprise to you. And so ECS is not leading that charge, but we are partnering with people not only locally, but statewide, and have been to Harrisburg twice, again, meeting with legislators, and trying to raise awareness around the issue around gun violence. And some of the proposals legislatively are very reasonable proposals. For example, 1 gun a month. Why do we need more than 1 gun a month, right? But this is an issue, right? So I'm sensitive to time. It's 11:15. I'm wondering if there are other questions that you might have. I know that Ann wants to share a story about a St. David's drive that happened for our rapid rehousing program.
Yeah, just really quickly. So rapid rehousing is a program that helps people who are at risk of becoming unhoused or have been unhoused, and provides them with supplemental rental income as well as coaching and a number of other things for a period of up to 24 months. After that, they're moving to stable permanent housing. We do, in 2 different iterations, give them some resources. And St. David's has been a part of collecting welcome baskets for when they're moving into their home, and also for those that are able to exit to permanent housing. And one of our staff people was describing the event that they had the other day where families were receiving their baskets. And first of all, I want to thank you for recognizing that the things that we asked you to supply in there are really the things that people wanted. And when they saw their baskets, they were just so lit up and excited about this. These things are not small. These are small when you can afford to go out and get these things, but when they're not, they mean everything. It means that the meal you're about to make, the bed you're about to dress, the place that you're about to tuck your child in is special, and it reflects the dignity that we value so much. And not only were the participants excited, the staff person who was describing it to Kyle and I was equally excited. Just the ability to provide that sort of warmth is just amazing. And so we thank you all for participating in that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any questions?
First off, thank you for what you do. Of the guests that come to you, is there a typical age or a typical gender, and do they tend to be single or families, single more women than men?
It's all of the above, but we do see a significant number of seniors coming into the food pantry. And when people come to a food pantry, it's not because they're starving most often. It's not because they have nothing. It's because they run out. They have shortages. And the reason they have shortages is because they're on a SNAP benefit, supplemental nutrition, what's the A? Assistance program. Thank you. And that isn't enough for a whole month, especially with inflation and the cost of food. The other reason is that sometimes they're not just feeding themselves on that benefit. They're feeding maybe a family member who now is unhoused or has come to join them. They need to spread that. And so a lot of them are seniors. They are singles, they are young people, they are families, so it's all of the above. Would you say we see more women typically than
Yes.
men? Yes.
But some men, too. Single men. And, well, I should say men that come in by themselves, because you never really know what a person's situation might be. But, yeah. And again, with our open choice pantry, people are shopping for themselves. We're not giving them a prepackaged bag, so that they, from their own health perspective and capacity and interest, have in terms of what they eat, they're able to select their own items.
And is that open every day?
It's open Tuesday through Friday from 11 to 2.
Hundreds of people are coming in
Yes.
weekly.
And one other question, do you have special programs for seniors?
Well-
We were just having this conversation earlier this week about seniors, and I'm curious about what ECS has.
So I would say that most of those who participate, it is not exclusively for seniors, but most of the people who are participating in that nutrition program that I talked about, the Thursday breakfast bunch, are senior citizens. And then, of course, the meal program, the cook-off, where we're seeking volunteers, serves seniors in the broader community. That's not direct to the seniors who frequent the pantry, but it's possible, I suppose, that some of those people are also benefiting from that when they're going to those senior centers.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I have a question, just curious. The folks that need your services are is it mostly unemployed or underemployed? You know, maybe you can talk to that, just a little bit about maybe the profile of the people that you're serving.
It's all of the above. There are a lot of people, and you know, this is a sad situation because of the cost of employer-provided benefits. That very often employers develop a work schedule for people that doesn't allow them to work full-time, and therefore they don't have benefits. And if your education doesn't qualify you for a higher level quality job, then you're often stuck in those kinds of things. And therefore you don't have enough income for the month, and you certainly don't have enough food. So they are people who are unemployed, who have SNAP benefits, and need other resources. And a lot of people come in and ask about housing because they're in unstable housing conditions. And then there are people who are employed. The people who are in the Mindset program are most often, they all are employed, but they're not employed in such a way that they're going to be able to ensure that there is that interruption of intergenerational poverty until they've completed the various stages of self-sufficiency.
Yeah, Johnson.
I'm just curious, since it's either historically or currently somewhat of a church-related organization, is there any faith component, anything you do, or you gotta do that? Just curious about that.
Well, first of all, I apologize. I know that we're over time at this point. Yes. So ECS is a 153-year-old institution leaning into its 154th year, and it was established by the Episcopal Diocese of Pennsylvania. And we have a significant portion of our funding support provided by Episcopal churches in the Diocese of Pennsylvania. We also have made approaches to government agencies and other funding opportunities because the need has gotten so significant. And we're trying to meet that. So to your point, let me just give you one example. We had both staff and participants of the Muslim tradition ask for some kind of a meditation prayer room at St. Barnabas because particularly in the Muslim practice, you have regular prayer times, and they needed a place to go while they were in programming in the building. And so we've created that. It's an interfaith room. We have resources for those of the Jewish practice, Muslim practice, Christian practice. We also have yoga mats and mindfulness supplies and resources and other materials there. So when a need comes to us, we try our best to meet that need in that context. As chaplain, I have some people who come to me quite directly from a faith perspective and asking for support. I also have people who might say, you know, they're spiritual, they're not in a faith practice, but they're wanting to talk to somebody. And so I meet people where they are when they come into my office. I'm not sure if that completely
I would add a little bit that a third our bylaws require that a third of our board of directors are clergy in the Episcopal tradition. We also, so let me just, and as well as that there are probably the vast majority of the people who are on the board are members of the churches or the parishes, but what people experience when they come through our doors, the spirit through which we give those resources, do the work, the dignity, the respect, the representation of Christ's work on earth, they experience as Episcopal because of our name and our commitment to how we do that. So that is the way that faith tradition really exudes itself throughout the work.
Anything else? Yes.
Just curious, is there a radius of people that you support, or can people come from anywhere?
So our focus area is Philadelphia and Darby. So technically, yes, people could come from all points of Philadelphia and Darby to us. I think, you know, one of the other, I'm going to call it a wild card related to employment, is transportation. How difficult it is for people to get to a place of employment and all of the hiccups that happen with that. And similarly, you know, if I have to go that distance to get to this location all the time, that's difficult. Now, we do have some participants that will shop for themselves and somebody else who's registered with us, again, because of that situation. But yeah, anyone within the Philadelphia area and the Darby area are welcome to come.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And Kyle, thank you so much for
Absolutely.
being with us. Just wanted to remind you all that Jay's going to be back there with the laptop to sign up for Outreach Week that begins tomorrow. So thank you again, both of you, for being with us. Yes.